everyone. Good morning. I'm Karen Roth with Chevron Public Affairs, and Chevron is proud to sponsor the A+ Breakfast Challenge this morning, what lends to be an informative educational discussion. At Chevron, we work with local communities, government strategic partners such as A+ Challenge to increase learning opportunities for students and support social and economic vitality of the communities where we live and operate. In fact, over the last 3 years, Chevron has donated $100 million in education in the United States. At Chevron, we believe in effective education with a focus on STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and math can foster the bright young talent of our future workforce. During registration, you should have received a postcard with a Few-Year School program. This is an educational program that Chevron sponsors during the month of October, where we will donate up to $1 million in your local public schools. So what we would kindly ask for you to do is to visit your local Texaco and Chevron stations, fill up, and Chevron will donate $1 million towards education in your local public schools. At this time, I'd like to welcome Scott Van Belt, Executive Director of A+ Challenge.
First, some thank yous to Chevron. Jonathan Day pointed out last night at the Speaker Series dinner that this is the 5th year that Chevron has supported the A+ Speaker Series. And I think this year is going to be one of the best. So we want to thank Chevron for their continued support, not only of this Speaker Series and of A+, but all of the fine work that they do around public education for this great city. Second, I see Jason Moody in the back from the Museum of Fine Arts, Houston. This is a wonderful, wonderful venue to be able to host the morning events. And I think that this is our 3rd year with the Museum of Fine Arts. And we've partnered with MFAH over our last 16 years in a number of projects. The one is probably most exciting right now is that A+ has launched a mobile middle school in the museum district. We have 46 graders working on blended learning, personalized learning, within the context of the museums, some of the greatest museums in the world. And again, we could not do that type of exploratory education, that model education, without great support from our museum partners, most notably the Museum of Fine Arts. So thank you, Jason, and thank the rest of the MFAH staff. So to introduce our guest speaker this morning, I thought it would be appropriate to mention some data that, quite frankly, I find to be confusing. So recently, we celebrated, according to the state of Texas, one of the highest graduation rates that this state had ever seen. And also most recently, we found out that according to our state accountability system, 95% of our public schools have met our standards. And they are our standards, by the way. The state of Texas sets those. We are the state of Texas. At the same time, I look at NAEP data, which is the national data around state comparisons, district comparisons. And most of that NAEP data, for the most part, has flatlined. I look at SAT, ACT, flatlined. I see PISA data in terms of international comparisons, not good data. So when we were putting together the speaker series, one of the things that I had noticed, and we really have to give a compliment to Chevron and Joni Baird, because they were right there at the table when we started to think about stop comparing ourselves to ourselves or to Louisiana, New Mexico, Iowa, and let's start comparing ourselves to the world. And I remember I had a conversation with Paul Revel, who just retired as the Commissioner of Education in Massachusetts. And most of us know that Massachusetts is either number one. If they're not number one, they're in the top 5 of most of the educational indicators that we're paying attention to in this country. And I remember what Paul said. He said, you know, he remembers the moment that Massachusetts started to move the needle. And they stopped paying attention to their state tests. They stopped paying attention to their graduation rates within the state. And they started to compare themselves to the other countries in the world. And that's when Massachusetts started to move. And I would dare say, not only did they start to move their educational engine, they started to move their economic engine also. Our speaker this morning, I just got a email early this morning from someone who was at the dinner. No pressure, Pasi, but Andrea White says that this is one of the best presentations she's ever heard. So you might not know this, but Andrea White is the wife of a past mayor in Houston, Mayor Bill White. And I think what's going to make the talk fascinating is that as I listened last night, there is nothing that Pasi Sahlberg is going to talk about today that we couldn't do. Nothing. Pasi Sahlberg currently is the Director General at the National Center for International Mobility and Cooperation within the Finnish Ministry of Education and Culture. He spent time in the United States. He knows the United States system as well as many systems around the world. I'm really excited to learn from him again this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Pasi Sahlberg.